how it compares to Blab. I saw your question. Right now, I do like that the chat is right underneath. I've liked it as a guest. I'll see how I like it as a moderator. I just had to turn off my Maria Duran window because I was getting too much feedback hearing myself speak. So I will be doing some communication through my Maria Duran Twitter handle, but most will be through the Brand Chat handle. So welcome, BRANDidos. We're excited that you're here. We're going to have a special guest today who is Denise Lee Hyun, who is the author of What Great Brands Do. And she recently released an ebook called Extraordinary Experiences, really talking about how brands with the retail and restaurant storefront, so bricks and mortar brands, are making those extraordinary experiences for people who are connecting with them and their customers. So you'll be doing both because you're extra. Yes, Mr. McFly. All right, well, we're on video and we're just waiting for Denise to join us. So welcome, BRANDidos. I am actually going to be doing a lot of the text moderating and leave Gary because he's just amazing at this multitasking, okay?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Maria.
What's that, Gary? I'm sorry, I turned my volume down too much. I had all that feedback. Okay, I'm back now.
No, I said I have no idea what you're talking about.
You can do this seamlessly. You pick out gifts and all this stuff, and I'm still wondering how I'm typing all this in. So we make a good team.
Yes.
Well, welcome, BRANDidos. Yes. If you'll introduce yourself, Gary.
Yes, I am Gary, also known as Mr. McFly, also known as strategist extraordinaire, gift master in chief, overall troublemaker, all types of things. Many of you who are regulars here know me. I still have the agency work that I'm doing through BDOT and a bunch of other things, and I am always thankful to Maria for all the opportunities that she has given to all of us through Brand Chat.
I'm excited that everybody's here. This is nice to not just be sitting alone, chatting, wondering who else is wondering these different things about brands and branding. So it's exciting to have you here. And he failed to mention that he's also chief brand archist. So every fifth Wednesday, we have what's known as Brandarchy. It's a free-for-all of what is current and burning on the minds of BRANDidos and people about branding. And he leads that beautifully because that's everything coming from all different directions. So yes, you wear lots of different hats, and you do that oh so well. That's why I moderate the other chats, because we stay really focused on one thing without all these other things coming in different ways. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. I see Jen is here, James. Wow, I haven't seen, am I pronouncing it right, Rivan? I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm glad that you're here back. Yes, we're on video now. Excellent. Jamie, I see you here too. Thanks for being here. Peepwise, thank you. Glad you're here. First brand chat. It's a little bit different. We're actually including video today, and we've never done that before in brand chat other than on Blab. So this is different, but we are learning and we are willing to experiment and try. So there you go. Well, welcome, BRANDidos. Make sure you're introducing yourself as you come in. Hey, James. Good morning. I do like that the interaction is underneath, so I don't have to worry about what message. I guess with Blab, and you mentioned that, Ryvan, you know, what you like it, but you like the feed underneath. I do too, just because it's too hard for me to keep up with a feed going on over here and a feed over here, and remember to record. So that's the cool thing. All of this is happening here, and I love it. So thank you. Welcome. Yes, and happy Veterans Day. Make sure you guys are introducing yourselves. I'm still moderating what's happening in the NERF, in the text version of NERF. And Gary, let me know if you see Denise come in. I haven't seen her come in yet.
I haven't seen her yet either. It's waiting.
Yes, the video is being recorded in NERF. So we're gonna, when you look at the replay of this chat, and that was the Biz Dojo that asked that, if you're looking at the replay of this chat, you're gonna see it in real time happen this way, plus also recording. You can speed us up, slow us down, go to different sections, so it's kind of cool. Hey, Gerald, good morning. Hi, Denise. Welcome. I would love for you to jump into the chat. If you will look at the right-hand side there, you'll see a little button that says Start Video Chat, and you just press that, and you will just come right into the chat. I don't know, Logan, if we can storify the video, but I do know that we'll have the recording in the NERF, and it'll always live there within and with this chat. Okay, cool, Denise. Thank you. 100 questions, Jen. Sure. How many people can chat on a video? I hear 8. Of course, this is my first time to do this, so I've not tested that bandwidth, but I hear about 8 of us can chat at the same time. James Easterling would be the person to go to with that question. Yep. Thank you, James. 8 on a chat at a time. Yep. Denise, just to make sure when you do press that little start chat, video chat button, you do have to let it allow your camera and your microphone. So it'll ask you that little button in your browser. If you'll allow it, then you'll join us. So I can't see you yet, but you're almost there. Like Gary, he's already gifting away. I'm here trying to figure out where my where my next comment is for brand chat, my next guideline.
That's why I am gift master in chief.
That's right. You're absolutely that. Me, I'm going to be good to keep up with this tech side and also with Hootsuite, so I can send it out to everybody at the same time. How to gift multitasking tutorial. Absolutely. I'm for that. Raise your hands if you want. I think Gary's just got that ability. I don't know that he can teach that. Well, we could see, though. We could try. If you're willing to do a class, Gary.
I can try. I don't know how good the class will actually go. I'm actually putting down a prerequisite right now for what one thing is necessary, and it will be seen all over Twitter in a moment.
Oh, cool. Cool. All right, Denise, I actually think you can join now. I am following you on Brand Chat. I think we're following each other on my personal Twitter, but not. I actually started this chat on Brand Chat, so that way it is going through our NERF. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Just so that you know, we are talking with Denise Leon. We actually have Gary Nix on the video here, who is also your moderator extraordinaire, chief brand archist, all around gift master, chief, king, whatever you want to title him. He is the master at doing this, and he is here. He's going to help on the video side. I'm still going to be doing the text side. So if you see me with a puzzled face, it's probably because I'm typing and trying to do 2 things at once, but I am here and still watching us in the text side of the NERF. You'll find all the questions here, and I think I see Denise is rejoining the channel so that we can get started. You'll also have a copy of this, so you'll see the copy of this actual Twitter chat. The text side and the video side will all be within our NERF channel, and that replay will be available usually within minutes after the chat. It'll come available. Oh, I know, James. I am excited about that. James Easterling just tweeted out that the text-to-tweet mic that NERF is working on will be coming out fairly soon. I believe it's in 2016. I don't know that he'll get it done before 2015, but I love that idea. Not sure. I'm really curious to see if it really captures my West Texas drawl and can bring out what I'm saying, or I'm going to see something really funky at the end when text comes out. But I'm open to experimenting, so let's see.
If this tool cannot pick up what you say, it needs to be fixed. That's what it is. That's how it goes.
Yes, I'll have to ask Neil. I said, just forget the English accent. Remember the West Texas drawl. Welcome, everyone. Yes, and happy Veterans Day. I'm glad to see everybody here. Make sure you've introduced yourself. We've got so great, gosh, longtime BRANDidos here. Thank you. And absolutely a veteran. James Easterling is a veteran of NERF video chat. Gary and I are newbies, but we are learning quickly. So welcome. All right. Our special guest today, and I'm seeing her, she's working into the chat, is Denise Leon. We've had her actually on Brand Chat before. Denise has a book which is called What Great Brands Do, and she really talks about brand culture and living the brand, not it just being a document, a logo, or something that we have at the back of a pamphlet or flyer, or on a corporate, a discovery board or wall, that it's really something that everyone in the brand truly lives by. Well, she came out with a new book called Extraordinary Experiences. It's an ebook that talks about the bricks and mortar side of that. So when we're looking at what great brands do, who better to talk about that with than the BRANDidos? So I'm pretty excited that she's going to join us today. If we can get the technology going, she will join us in video. If not, there's always the text background, but I know she's trying to join in video. So Denise, I'm now following you in Brand Chat. There you are.
Can you see me? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is the third computer that I've tried, and I finally got it to work. I am so sorry to keep you all waiting. I was having real problems with my other technology. So here I am. Yay!
Yay! Yay! And no, not to worry, Denise, at all. You know, we usually spend the first 10 minutes greeting, telling each other high fives, hello. It's our one time in the week when we all gather together, so we're good. And actually, it may not have even been your technology. It might have been on this end that I needed to follow you through Brand Chat, through the chat Twitter handle. So I did that between the time you were changing technology. Okay. So we're good. We're all good.
Good. All right. Glad to hear it.
So welcome, BRANDidos. Yes, 3 times the charm, Biz Dojo. That's absolutely it. I'm going to be moderating, Denise, so that you know the text side of the what's happening here in the Twitter chat. We're talking about brands and extraordinary experiences. Gary's actually going to be talking to you on the video side, asking you some of the questions that we have here in that we've already started actually here in the NERF, which is what we call our channel that we're utilizing. And then I think for question 5, we actually go out to the crowd. So I'll be gathering those together, Gary. If I can multitask really well, I'll do that. And Gary, let me introduce you to Denise Leon, the author of What Great Brands Do and Extraordinary Experiences. This is Gary. He is our resident chief art anarchist, the king of gifts. He's also chief strategist with BDOT. He's an amazing Brandito and really lives and breathes everything about branding. This is what he thinks about. He's the one that comes up with some of these great topics that, I wonder, what's happening out in the branding world, and he absolutely has his finger on the pulse of that. So I wanted to introduce the two of you here. I'll let you start the conversation, Denise, with telling us a little bit more about you other than what I've told about the books. So if you could share with us more what it is that you do and what you've been up to lately. Thank you for being with us, Denise.
Oh, I'm so excited, and it's great to use a new technology. And again, I apologize for being late, but this is so cool. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I am an independent consultant, speaker, and writer on the topic of brand building. A lot of my consulting work tends to be with restaurant and retail brands, and then I speak on the topic of what great brands do. And as you were just saying, I just have a new book out called Extraordinary Experiences. So lots of stuff going on.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Gary.
Funny enough, one day I was in Barnes & Noble just randomly, and I came across Denise's book, and I took a picture of it. And this is someone who knows what they're talking about, because you're speaking a lot more about the experiences and the brand being a promise and things that a lot of us have spoken about here on Brand Chat, but for some strange reason, a lot of other people do not. I mean, part of me says we have to be thankful for that, because if everyone was talking about that, we might not have choice. So,
right. Good point.
It's good that there are other people out there who do understand the necessity of the brand.
Right. And, I think it is because, for so long, I think brands were considered your logo or your name or kind of some more of like a message or image. I think that's just been so ingrained in everyone's understanding that I think it really does take a large voice from all of us talking about, no, your brand is so much more than that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Sorry for the delay, but the questions are taking a little bit of time for me.
I have to confess, I'm not a great multitasker, so I think I'm kind of focused on you, Gary, and not on the Twitter, the typing. I'll try to do both, but I think I would probably screw both up if I try.
And how I'll help Gary is I'll actually launch it in the Nerf. So
Okay.
you'll have it there, but if you could speak it out to Denise so she doesn't have to look for the question, that'd be cool. I think that will help us all.
Yes, I'm just going to the handle right now so that I can hopefully pull them quickly. Okay, so whenever the first question comes up, because I don't see it yet.
All right, here we go. We got question 1 on the floor.
Okay. Okay, so Denise, how do brands create and design extraordinary experiences?
It first starts with being absolutely clear about what your brand stands for. I think before you even think about the experience, you need to think about what is our purpose, what are defining values and attributes, and make sure that you're very clear about it and everyone who works on your brand is very clear about it. And then I think you need to go into your customer and really understand what does your customer want and need, and not just what they say they want and need, but really kind of have develop a sense of intimacy and empathy with your customer so you really understand maybe what are some of the unfelt needs or needs that they didn't even know that they had that you can actually fill and really create value for them. And then I think you start thinking about all of the touch points that exist between you and your customer, and how can you bring that brand understanding and your customer intimacy to life in those touch points.
Yeah, and everything that you just listed sounds like another idea that we speak about quite a bit in Brand Chat, and it has to do with brands showing loyalty to their customers instead of the brands actually just trying to get the customers to be loyal to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, Gary, I talk about that all the time because, and it's funny because even when companies talk about loyalty, often they're talking about like a points program or some sort of like CRM, initiative. And really what they want, I believe, is true emotional customer loyalty. But I think to your point, the way that they create that is by first showing loyalty to their customers, to really, kind of trust their customers and do things for their customers that then the customers want to reciprocate.
Right. And just to be clear, because sometimes people get excited and take one side of the debate, so to speak. I know that we're not trying to say that CRM and loyalty programs are not important, because that actually does help the customer, but it is a lot more important to actually show, as a brand, show loyalty to your customer.
Yes, good clarification, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sounds great. And a lot of the answers that I'm seeing are along these lines. It's good to see that the group of BRANDidos is a smart one, as we all know.
Yay!
Yeah. So let's see. Let's just ramp up to question 2, I would say. And let's
All right, let me get question 2 on the table. And
Maria,
yes, we are retweeting. Some of the BRANDidos are saying that. Some have even said,
yes.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. All right. Some of the BRANDidos were even mentioning like Virgin being one of the great brands that do that, that have shown that. Are there some other brands, Denise, that you see also that I know you mentioned some in the book? I'm about to mention one actually in question 2, but if you want to share some of the brands that you've seen, good examples always seem to be the cornerstone for us as BRANDidos to say, hey, that helps us.
Yeah, I'll actually bring up Chipotle because, Chipotle's been in the news lately because of the foodborne illness and the E. coli problem that they've had in the Northwest area of the United States. And I know that that's been, a question mark, like, is that problem going to impact Chipotle and their brand? I firmly believe that Chipotle has done so much for their customers and has generated so much loyalty and passion from their customers for what they do that that is really going to carry them through this crisis. Now, we're still kind of figuring out exactly the extent to which the crisis affected people and whether there's more issues out there. It seems like everything's under control at this point. But I think that because Chipotle has already cultivated this real connection with their customers over food integrity, over sustainable sourcing, over great value, that then when something like this happens, where they do have a crisis, I think that they're somewhat, I wouldn't say protected, but I think that their customers actually are willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, and willing to listen to what is Chipotle doing, and willing to kind of say, hey, you know, we'll stand by you as long as you continue to do what's right.
Well,
yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I would too. I'd agree that that's part of the reason you build your brand and support it, and your advocates prior to you needing them. It's just like we talk about networking. Build your network before you need them. Okay, I'm launching question 2. I'll be quiet.
Okay. Speaking of food, discuss Popeyes' evolution to love the people you lead and the impact on their brand loyalty.
Okay, so we need to go back probably to like 2008 or so, when Popeyes was really suffering as a business. There are a lot of reasons why, not the least of which is that the region of the country, the Southeast, where they are the strongest, was hit by Hurricane Katrina, and really just kind of that whole, there was a real economic depression going on in general. But the company was really suffering, and Cheryl Batchelder came in to become CEO of the company, and she and her leadership team really kind of had this heart-to-heart talk about what are we going to do to turn around this company. You know, what can we, of all the people who are concerned about our performance, whether it be our investors or our board of directors, our employees, our customers, our franchisees, you know, of everyone who is invested in this business, who's disappointed with what's going on, how can we turn around this business, and who can we focus on? And they decided to focus on their franchisees. And, you know, Cheryl talks about their focus on the franchisees was not just, you know, saying, oh, okay, we're going to placate you. Like, I think a lot of franchise organizations will give lip service and say, oh, our franchisees are so important, we need to listen to you. But, you know, they actually took the extra step and said, you know, we're going to love our franchisees. We understand that they make a long-term commitment to our brand. I mean, often they are mortgaging their house and making like a 20-year investment in our business to become a franchise owner of one or more of our locations. They're obviously very invested in our success. We should be investing in them as well. And this idea of loving your franchisees is something that I think if you're in any kind of franchise organization, you understand like how radical that is. I mean, people don't talk about that. Franchisees are usually like the source of a lot of pain and grief, you know. But I think that because they were able to engage their franchisees, figure out what they cared about and how to make them successful, the franchisees then turned to their employees and then to their customers and really gave them better customer service, which then ultimately led to a lot of the positive brand perceptions and the increased brand loyalty. And the company really has turned around the business. They're one of the most profitable and growing fast food companies in the industry today.
Yeah, there's a really important point there in terms of experience, especially being that a lot of customers don't realize that, or they don't necessarily accept the fact that a lot of these fast food businesses are franchise based. Mm-hmm. So when they go to a Popeyes, to a McDonald's, to a Burger King, they think they're going to McDonald's, Popeyes, or Burger King.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the actual franchises. Sometimes you don't understand why the prices are different, why this particular franchise is not participating in the deal that they saw in the commercial on TV. Mm-hmm. And because the franchises are really the first level of experience for the corporation, more corporations should do a better job of taking care of their franchisees. Like the franchises are the only reason they're actually making money. People are going there. So it's very interesting how Popeyes is in the minority doing that.
Yeah, you know, and it really does take a concerted effort. You know, Cheryl talks about how, like, when they wanted to do a redesign on their restaurants, you know, kind of the image and the decor and the design of the restaurants. Normally, you know, what would happen is a company would decide to do that. They would, you know, put together this design package and try to sell it to the franchisees. Well, they found that to be a very ineffective process because the franchisees just would reject any kind of, you know, thing that's forced on them. By involving your franchisees and really seeking out their perspectives and engaging them, they were able to come up with a restaurant design that they could then implement across their entire system much more quickly. And it was because they took the stance of, hey, we're going to partner with our franchise operators from the very beginning.
Yeah, and also all this talk about this is making me want Popeyes for lunch. So
gotta love those biscuits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the Popeyes organization. So let's see. Let's get ready for Q3. But before we do that, let's see some of the responses to Q2 from the rest of the room, because that is just as important, of course.
And Ryvon was actually mentioned, or no, Peepwise, sorry, Peepwise, you were saying that does it really matter whether they're a franchisee or corporate store to the end customer? And I think you covered that it doesn't, but still it's important because of the support system that they need in place. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is that to the customer doesn't care whether it's a company or a franchise-owned restaurant. They expect an experience that is going to more than satisfy them, and it's going to be consistent regardless of which unit they go to. But from an operational standpoint, from the business standpoint, they do need to operate very differently in order to make sure that they have that consistency, and that's what often trips a lot of fast food companies up.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so for question 3, Denise, if you could just share some insights and experiences in brand culture, maybe some best practices or challenges.
Yeah. I think that the most important thing about having a brand culture is that that's really the first step to building a great brand. We already kind of talked about how there's kind of a common perception that, a brand is all these external facing things like our image or message or logo or name, our look and feel, our website, whatever. And I think that it's really important to understand that what I've observed and found in my work is that great brands start brand building by cultivating that brand culture first. And then they save their advertising, their promotions, and all the look and feel stuff for later, because they know that until and unless everyone within their organization shares one common understanding of the brand and knows how to interpret and reinforce it appropriately, it doesn't matter. They can say all they want, externally, but consumers are savvy. They're not going to just believe a message. They're really actually going to want to experience it. So having that brand culture is so important. And it really comes down to defining, what do you stand for? Some people talk about, you need to define your purpose. Other people say you need to define your essence. I don't really, either one is fine. I think you need to have just this core understanding of what is it that you're for? What is the real difference that you make? And then what are the values that guide the way that you operate in every way? And those values should not only inform your internal culture, but then they should be translated to your external customer experience. It makes no sense to have a great culture internally if your customers don't experience that great culture. And by the same token, it makes no sense to have this great message externally that isn't experienced internally. And the example I use there is I have a client who's kind of in the healthy food grocery space, and they're very successful externally in terms of promoting healthy choices to their customers. And I think that it's always been on their radar internally, but I think that they're just now realizing how important it is that internally they foster this healthy living and healthy choices among their employees. So you need to have a culture that is consistent on the inside as well as the outside. That's really important if you have integrity and authenticity.
Yes, I mean that goes all the way down to hiring, who you're hiring, and everything. A lot of what you do internally is going to somehow come out. So
yes,
that has a lot to do with credibility, integrity, authenticity.
Right.
It also help lead in any creative design assets that you need. It's much better to have your employees internally speaking externally about the good things that they like about your brand, why they like working there, what they like about the products, what they like about things that just kind of surround the product. So I brought the example up of this company that you're working with, who's trying to get everyone internally to also embrace more healthy living. So you don't necessarily have to speak about the product that they're selling. You know, it could just be someone that works at this company and you see them working out, or whatever it may be. You know, so those things just lend more credibility. Those little tiny things that help your brand become stronger, that are not necessarily always measurable.
Yes.
And that we want to measure them, but they are still so important. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I think that, the other point that I make is that, and I wrote about this in the Harvard Business Review recently about how, there's so much talk about culture these days that I think that people naturally go to like the benefits, like, oh, we should offer free snacks, or we should have great barbecues on Friday afternoons, or, whatever. We should have a foosball table in our facility. And again, those things may be very important, but I think that you really need to think about what is distinctive about your culture. What are the unique values that characterize the people in your organization and really make you guys kind of like a tribe, and so that it's not just culture, a good culture, but it's a distinctive culture. It's something that people can say, oh, that brand, everyone who works at that company is like that, and that's why they're able to deliver this customer experience that's like that also. So there's a distinctiveness or a uniqueness about your culture that you really need to think about.
Yeah, a lot of my friends who work in the industry, we call the things that you listed part of the startup business starter kit. So some sort of Friday drinking related events, probably like pop-ups or something like that. And while those things are nice add-ons, we have to remember that those are really add-ons. When it comes down to it, we must remember that work needs to be done. So we can't just have a bunch of people. So that's just very important to remember for all the people who do like to play foosball, myself included.
See, I hear somebody has the same challenge I do. The phone rings only when I'm on brand chat. That's the only time.
Well, and I apologize for that. Again, I thought that I turned off that phone, but apparently I didn't. So I'm sorry about that.
You're in the need, Denise. Don't apologize at all. In fact, some of the BRANDidos.
Basically, what's happening is people are either watching or hearing the things you're saying on brand chat, and they're calling you immediately. Like, I need help. I need help right now.
That's exactly. There you go. There you go. We just know these things. And the BRANDidos, JS Inside Pitch actually said, building the company spirit internally can create some awesome external brand awareness. It's all levels, all the time. And I do agree. When I, back in my younger days, I actually worked for the YMCA, and we would actually have a paid hour to hour and a half where we would work out. That was a part of what we did every single day. And I thought it was strange. I thought, well, maybe they just want us to get to know the members at first. Of course, that was in my youth. And then I thought, okay, now I see the wisdom in that as far as a brand, because you talk about mind, body, and spirit. That's what they focus on. And they wanted all of that seen in every staff member, from camp counselors to directors, administrators, and assistants, everyone.
Absolutely. That's a great example.
Once again, I see a lot of good feedback from our family of BRANDidos. Just talking about some of the extras that a lot of companies do provide for the people that they work with, and it quickly translates into the people internally speaking externally about those great things.
There's a question I see from, I guess it's James Easterling, and it just went away, but it was something about how do you institute a culture that's not systematized. And, it's really interesting because I think that, companies that have great cultures tend to have a leader or a leadership team that really embraces a strong culture, and they're really the champions for ensuring that this culture gets cultivated throughout everything they do. And I think that oftentimes when I talk to people, they're like, well, we don't have that kind of leader. Our leader doesn't get it, or they don't value it, or whatever. And so then it becomes really frustrating because, you need to kind of be thinking, okay, well, what difference can I make? And I think that there is, I would say two things. One, one, I think you do need to control what you can. And I think wherever you are, whether you are a sole individual contributor or whether you're in a management position, to the extent that you can have an understanding of what the values are that drive you and always be very consistent with that, I think that's really important. But I would also say that, a great way to get everyone on board with this idea of brand and culture is one of the tools that I use with my clients. It's a brand touch point wheel. And basically it's a visual depiction that kind of looks at all of the different touch points between the outside world and then the inside company. And when you put together a visualization like that, I think what becomes very clear is that culture is extremely important, because everyone impacts some touch point. Everyone has some impact on a customer's perception in some way. And I think that just using a tool like that or any kind of way of helping people understand that culture is really ultimately what affects the customer experience, I think that is so important. And that's a great way to kind of start having the conversation with leaders who you may be able to influence.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm guessing, here we go. So for question 4, discuss Pirch and posting the CEO's phone number, brand sense, loyalty.
Okay, so Pirch is a retailer, a high-end retailer of like appliances, plumbing, and home fixtures. They have about, I think, 9 showrooms across the United States right now. There are a couple in Southern California, Chicago, Atlanta, etc. And they have created this really unique in-store experience. It's all about making people feel comfortable and confident about shopping for appliances. And it's very different from the kind of standard, you walk into like a Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and the guy's like, and you need a refrigerator, and the guy's like, okay, so how big is it? Do you want double doors, or do you want, side by side, blah, 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 whatever. I think at Pirch, what they try to do is really understand, how do you want to live? How do you want to use your kitchen? And then how does a refrigerator fit into all of that? And so they design this wonderful customer experience that I think really just connects people with the brand immediately. And they use signage in their store as part of the way to do that. They have all these like quirky signs. They have a manifesto that has all these different values that they post in their store. But the most important or the most significant sign they have is one where they say, hey, we're going to try to do our best, but we know we're not always going to do that. And so if you need to, please contact our CEO and let us know how we can improve. And then it puts his direct phone number, Jeffrey Sears, the CEO, his phone number in the store. So, and I know this for a fact, that if you call him, you either get him directly or he'll call you right back. He is that committed to ensuring that Pirch helps you and serves you and really satisfies you. And I think that's just it's a small detail, but it makes a big statement about what the company values, the kind of customer service and customer experience that they are trying to create.
Yeah, I like the fact you said it's a small detail that means a lot, because I feel that a lot of companies either forget or have some level of fear about those small details when they're trying to, increase their bottom line. Sometimes marketers in general may not do the best job of explaining that the reason why they're doing certain things are to positively affect the bottom line. Sometimes you get caught in the saying, "Oh, we need awareness. We need to take it. We need to do these details because the customers will like it." But we forget to say, and and because the customers will like this, they are more likely to not only buy from us once, but buy from us again and again.
And one of the things that Pirch finds is that they don't assume that when you walk into one of their showrooms that you actually are in the market to buy something. They are in kind of high-end malls, so they do get a lot of foot traffic from people who may or may not want a new refrigerator. But what they find is by serving the customers so well and by understanding what kind of a home the customer wants to have and what kind of experiences the customer wants to have in their home, they end up selling a bunch of stuff. And oftentimes it's like stuff that customers didn't even expect to buy. And we're talking like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 kinds of ranges and appliances. I mean, it's high-end stuff, and I think they're able to kind of prompt those additional purchases because of that customer intimacy and empathy.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much about utility and loyalty and other values that brands can actually give to customers that will help them so much in the long run. I know just from being a marketing person, I know that CFO or those financial people are always breathing down your neck and saying you need to make more money, cut more costs. And I get that, but at the same time, you also need to serve your customers because that's the best way to keep money coming in. So I hope the brands are listening, and I hope that another brand soon rings your phone because they need to do these things. So there's a lot more coming on, and a lot more answers coming from question 4, of course.
Yes. And we're actually seeing that, some are debating, should you post the CEO's phone number? Does he really answer his phone? But you said that he does. And I think, to me, the essence is we've talked about this when departments or different sides of a business are all in those silos and that they don't communicate. That's the tough part for the customer from the outside trying to deal with that, not being able to reach somebody who can make a decision. Yeah. So I do like that commitment that he puts his phone number there, that, he says, I'm reachable, cut through everything, and you can talk directly to me.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. Jamie Gassman, I see here, says it would also depend on the CEO's personality and are they client facing or not. Some are not as good as that as others. And that's totally right. I'm not suggesting that every company needs to post their CEO's phone number. But to your point, Maria Elena, I think that every company needs to make it easy for customers to contact them and to get their questions answered and to express when they have complaints as well as, compliments. I think sometimes companies kind of hide behind their salespeople or whatever, as opposed to saying, hey, we want to be as open and as available and as accessible as possible.
I agree. I do agree. So we also have Hidama here said that there was an airplane. She was sharing an example. An airplane wanted to create new foods instead of a test kitchen. And this is actually pertaining to question 3, where we talked about share insights and experiences in brand culture. So she was sharing about an airline that wanted to create new foods. And instead of test kitchens, they put the test in a cross-country food truck. They actually ended up giving away the food for free and having raffles and for free flights. And they changed their recipes based on feedback. That's pretty cool.
I love that idea. And it's just such an innovative way to test something, kudos to that airline. That's a great story.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm asking now, what I'm sending out now is for the BRANDidos, it's your turn to ask questions. And I do see, excuse me, that James is asking, how transparent should a CEO, so this is James Easterling, how transparent should a CEO be on?
Yeah. I think there's a growing expectation that a CEO needs to be available on social and needs to be able to needs to use it to communicate transparently and authentically and regularly with their customers. I think, maybe even as recent as a couple years ago, I would have said, it really depends, but I think that there's more and more of expectation that you should be able to get a hold of the CEO or the president or whomever. Now, that's not to say that there still aren't controls and care. Going back to the Chipotle example I used before, one of the things I thought that was really important that Chipotle did is when they found out about the problem they were having with the foodborne illness, my understanding is they completely shut off all of their social media. They just stopped posting, stopped advertising, stopped sending messages, and they took the time to figure out what's going on. Then they figured out, okay, how can we start to fix this problem? They hired more external consultants to help them figure out what the problem, how the extent of the problem, and then how to fix it. And then they put out a very clear, as detailed as I think that they could, message about what they were doing and what they knew, what they didn't, and what they were doing about it. And I don't think I think that was just a regular press release. I don't think that it came from the CEO or COO, but I think it was a good example of just kind of being as straightforward as possible, but kind of saying, this is our statement. And they put it up on their website and they issued it through the press release, and then they shut down all their communication. And I think that was just a really smart way of as much as possible controlling what was being said or what the company was saying out to people about what was going on. So I think that that was a great example of being transparent, but also at the same time being careful about what you're communicating.
Definitely in agreement. You know, it's sometimes when we started talking about transparency, somehow that turned into people saying that you have to say absolutely everything, and those two things are completely different. You know, there's certain things that you have to just be honest about, be transparent about, but that doesn't mean that you have to give away all your secrets, tell every single little detail of what's going on. It's just that when you have a question being asked, you have to be honest, even if it's for some reason of some sort of privacy. Well, we can't go into detail about this because this, and that. You know, it's still the honest answer. It's when you start lying about things, it's where you get into trouble, because then you get called out for that, and not even necessarily how you handled the situation specifically. You just get called out for just being dishonest.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Gary. I mean, it being a public company, there are limitations on what you can and can't say, and you can get into a lot of trouble if you say the wrong things. But I think it's being, like you said, being upfront and saying, this is what I can talk about, this is what I can't right now, or this is what we know and this is what we don't know. And we're trying to find out what we don't know. I mean, sometimes I think that companies are afraid to say they don't have all the answers, and I think it's better just to say that you don't and that you're working hard to find out.
Right. Let's see. I know some more questions are coming through. Let's see. Well, people, you have a chance to ask all types of questions. Let's do it. Let's see. Go through the stream, the fast-moving.
I know, it's so hard to keep track. Thank you. I should say that this is a great community. I remember last year when I participated in Brand Chat, I mean, you guys are so engaged, and I just really love this. Great questions, great insights from your own experiences. So I think that's just great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Let's see.
All right, BRANDidos, any questions that you have for Denise? We've got that for the last 14 minutes of the chat. Here, Ryvon has, what hidden needs should a brand culture try to recognize in the experience they design?
I don't know if there's one single answer to that question. I would say that you kind of need to be looking for the white space or the touch points that maybe your competitors overlook or they take for granted, or just never even thought about. You know, the examples that I use a lot is like Starwood Hotels created signature fragrances for each one of their hotel brands. And it's kind of one of those things that now, if you know that and you walk into a Westin hotel, you notice that there's a certain kind of fragrance that's there, and it's different from when you walk into a W for a hotel, for example. And it's a detail like that I think you know, that you wouldn't have been aware of, or you might not have even noticed, but it makes an impact. And so it's about kind of looking for those opportunities. You know, someone had brought up Virgin America or Virgin Airlines as an example of a company that does this well. And one of the examples that I'm aware of is that they have created this new way of printing out your boarding passes. So, you know, when you check in for your flight in advance, when you print out their boarding pass, it's actually designed to be folded in a square so that you can stick it in your pocket. And when it's folded, all the pertinent information is up there in the corner, big bold type, so that you can read it easily and find all the information you need. And it's that kind of it's that kind of detail that I think most people are just used to printing out this half sheet or sheet of paper and kind of folding it, whatever, and then kind of like rummaging through and trying to find the information that they need. And so no one was really complaining about, oh, boarding passes really suck, you know, but I think that Virgin America was like, how can we do something different? You know, their whole Virgin's DNA is all about challenging convention, doing things that their customers won't do. And I think that, you know, they probably just thought, you know, hey, here's something that we can do that will make a big difference to people, really help them out a lot. No one else is doing anything with their boarding passes. Maybe we can actually create a differentiated experience in this one small detail. So there's not, I think, one answer to what are hidden needs, but it's more about kind of looking for ways to express your brand values and attributes in any detail of your execution.
Right. And then, of course,
there goes my phone again, and I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah. Also, what you talked about just falls into your unique selling proposition. Now, what makes you different, and why should people go to you rather than your competition? So if you think that way, you're already taking care of another quote unquote problem that you might be having.
Exactly. You know, I think that there, when you create your customer experiences, and this is just like my point about culture, you know, it's important to have a good culture. It's important to have a good customer experience. But I would say on top of that, it's important to have a differentiated customer experience. So look for those ways in your customer experience where you can actually do something different, something that's noticeable and memorable that people value and say, wow, you know, I hadn't really thought about how no one else does this, but now that your brand does this, I love that. You know, that's the kind of differentiation that you're really looking for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Maria, have you seen any more questions come through?
Yes, actually, James Easterling asked, what brand strategy suggestions would you give to turn around negative sentiment about your product or service?
Wow, that's a tough one. You know, I mean, I think it depends a lot on your situation. You know, I think sometimes you can come straight out and address that negativity, like the way Domino's did a few years ago. And I will fully admit that I was completely wrong about Domino's when they first did this, because when they first came out, you know, they had this whole campaign where they basically said, we realized our pizza sucked and we made it better. And when I first heard that whole message, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're actually admitting that their product sucks, you know. But I think they did it in such an like clever and engaging way, and their product actually improved dramatically. I actually like Domino's pizza now a lot, and I think that so they were really smart about drawing attention to the fact that they knew they had a problem and that they were going to fix it. And I think that sometimes that's a great approach. Other times I think it's a matter of thinking about your value proposition in a different way and saying, you know, rather than focusing on this area that we kind of have negative perceptions, we're actually going to focus on another area where we actually can improve, or we've innovated, or we're actually doing something that's really different and meaningful, and kind of draw attention there. So I think both approaches might work. It really just depends, I think, on your unique situation. Yeah,
if we were looking for a more systematic way to deal with it, I would just say you start by identifying what the issue is. You know, especially with the social space being what it is, any and everything can become an issue. So we have to figure out first of all what there's an issue realistically first, what the issue is, why or how it occurred, and then how it can be fixed. So is it something that we need to address and say, okay, we're looking into it, or we're doing this, this, and this to fix it? Or if it's some sort of pivot where we're saying, well, we're going to kind of focus on this, but at the same time, you still have to do it in an authentic and honest way. Because if you kind of just leave things on the back burner, or you just don't address certain things, then you're going to be called out for not addressing whatever the issue is.
Yeah, and Gary, I think you're absolutely right. And then the example that I would use for that is McDonald's. You know, I think to your point, you have to really you have to do the hard work to understand really what is the problem that we're having. And I think that what we've seen McDonald's do is fix the wrong problem. They have just come out with their chef crafted sandwiches, and they're kind of doing this whole like create your taste menu and things like that. And so they are addressing what they think are consumers' needs for more sophisticated products, for more choice, for fancier ingredients. And those indeed may be things that people are looking for, but I'm not sure that those are the things they're looking for from McDonald's. I think what McDonald's problems have been lack of consistency, lack of speed, lack of quality, just good quality products. And I think that if they were clearer about what the problem is, they would have spent more time innovating in the actual quality of their products. So actually one thing they did do, I understand, is they were kind of making their beef patties bigger. And so, I mean, that's a great example of just saying, hey, we know our quality has been suffering. We're not going to do anything really fancy here, but we're actually going to improve our core product. And so I think, to your point, making sure that you really understand what is the problem and then fixing that problem, as opposed to getting distracted by all these other things that could be things that you could do, but really don't address people's real dissatisfaction.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. It is important to know the issue that's and the concerns that are of value to them, not what you think they are, but what they actually are. That's some of the conversation that we've been having here, and now just asking for more questions. We've got just a few more minutes, BRANDidos, on the chat. And I know, Denise, I appreciate you being so generous with your time. I know it's early in the morning in California, but if you all have just one more question to ask, we can throw that question out. To see what Denise has to say. I know that Charisse here is talking about it's vexing that some CEOs still don't have a social presence. It's true, they don't.
Yeah, and she also says, I often remind clients, don't tell people what to do, tell them how what you do solves their problem. I think that's so smart. I think in this day and age, people don't want to be told things. I think that they want to discover things, but you play a role. I think you need to explain the value that you're creating for them, and then let them actually discover that and embrace it and become your loyal customer.
Right. And just to touch on the CEO piece, I remember back in the earlier days of social media, where I would really be on the side of not understanding why CEOs, or why more CEOs don't have a social presence. And then over time, I've met a lot of CEOs, and I've understood completely why they don't have a social presence. While there is something to be said about the CEO or some sort of high-ranking person in the company having a social presence, it's not always necessary for it to be the CEO, the CFO, or whoever it may be, because you want that whoever's going to be taking care of the social presence to be completely engaged, completely available. And sometimes those people just cannot be that.
Good point.
Sometimes some questions that are asked are not CEO level problems. You have to allow the CEO to do what the CEO needs to do in order for the company to exist correctly, so that the product to stay the same quality. Everyone has a part to play in the company, and there is a lot of importance to your social presence. So I can see the natural desire for CEOs to be that person, but sometimes it does not need to be the CEO. It needs to be someone who understands the importance and can carry out the important actions that need to take place in order for the social presence to work.
Yes, and have the information, right? Be clued in and can really communicate what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, and then we also had JS Inside Pitch was saying he loves your answers, Denise. He was just wishing he could see those in tweets. So
I
I've been
know.
frantically tweeting for you. That's why I've had my microphone off, so you just wouldn't hear me banging on the keyboard here,
Right.
as I've been trying to tweet and transcribe what Denise has said here. And so we'll actually try to do more of that with follow-up tweets after this chat, because you are sharing so much great information. I'm glad that the video is being recorded with the
Yes.
replay of this chat, so that I can capture that, and I'll do that even more diligently, so that I can pay a little bit more attention to what you're asking, what you're saying actually, and responding. So that's very good. Any other questions? Because we are about to sign off actually, and I do want to say before we sign off, congratulations to Sharice. You are earning the Brandito cap. Denise already has a Brandito cap. She came in and had the high velocity text Twitter chat with us before. Sharice, you are the winner of the Brandito cap, which is only earned by great brand participation. I mean, great chat participation in brand chat, and is generously given by Gerald Mazinski with I'm in Stitches LLC. So thank you so much to both you Branditos. And Denise, I want to extend a personal thank you to you. I'm going to let Gary finish it up, but I wanted to say thank you for joining us in a different format, doing video and Twitter chat as well. So I know it's a lot to multitask, and I appreciate you also sharing your wonderful insights. I mean, your case studies. If you guys have not read the book, What Great Brands Do, you need to. There are amazing case studies there, and it really is a helpful tool that puts a system and steps in place on what great brands do. And then Extraordinary Experiences, I actually have gotten it and looking forward to reading it. I've just skimmed over it and already am really excited to see this case studies. So thank you, Denise. And Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you to close it out as I close us out in
Okay. Yeah. So once again, thank you, Denise, for all of your insights and all of your information. Thank you, Maria, as always, and thank you.